Thank you, Chairman Upchurch and Presidents Abear and President Proctor for this incredible honor. There's many that I want to thank you today, to family and friends and faculty and staff and dignitaries and, of course, the students and members of the community. I say a deep, deep thank you. We come here this morning united in ceremony and pomp and circumstances, but also united in a deep and abiding love for Flagler College. And on this day, I have an absolutely profound sense of gratitude and humility. In response, I just want to start by thanking God for the many blessings in my life and for the many blessings that He's given Flagler College. Of the many family and friends I hope to thank, and I apologize as I will undoubtedly omit someone. Someone is missing very special to me, at least physically. That person is my father, Jim Joyner. My father passed away almost 5 years ago, and he is without question, my inspiration for pursuing educational leadership. My dad was my high school principal. Think about that for a minute. But I absolutely fell in love with the ringing of the bells and what he did. And I just so much wanted to be like my dad. I did. And today I know that he is very, very proud of me. I know he is. Those last few days before he passed away, he told me he was proud of me. And such simple words from a dad. But it meant so much to me that I've made it part of my task to tell all of the students and faculty and staff and everyone I meet how very proud I am of the work that they have done. It meant so much to me. My dad also very astutely and accurately told me that I would not be where I was today without my wife, Susan. And no truer words were ever spoken. When I'm weak, she is strong. When I'm too full of myself, she provides much needed humility. Susan sacrificed for me while I pursued my advanced degrees, prioritizing the growth of our two beautiful, at that time, teenage daughters, all the while serving as a full-time teacher, and remains to this day the absolute finest teacher I've ever seen in my life, and I have seen thousands of fine teachers. After 42 years of marriage, I love her more today than when I first met her when we were 14. Speaking of those teenage girls, Shannon and Megan are now married to fine young men, Ian and Josh, and are mothers with careers of their own, and we're blessed with 4 beautiful grandchildren, Lauren, Drew, Mackenzie, and Scarlett. You have all been the greatest joy in my short life. I also want to express my love and thanks to my mother in the audience, Betty Joyner. My mother supported and defended me in every endeavor. I learned commitment to family by watching her raise 5 children, all 2 years apart, 4 boys of the group. And the most important gift, however, she gave me was a deep, abiding faith in God. And for that, I will thank her most. Thank you to my brothers and sisters, Bob, Mike, Donnie, and my sister Judy for their support and love. A special thank you also to Susan's parents, John and Mimi Shanahan, who are here today, who gave me a boost in graduate school and have constantly offered unwavering love, support, prayers. And to her sister Pam, always the encourager and another great teacher in our family. Many thanks also go to my friends and colleagues who are here from Orange County, who provided me with an excellent foundation for my education and my career. And a very special thank you to the school board of St. Johns County, the members and many friends and colleagues that are here from St. Johns County. You provided an opportunity to someone with very little superintendent experience, and you supported me for the entire 14 years here, through the good and the bad, and mostly good, I would hope. Mayor Shaver, thank you for your kind words. and for the city commissioners and for embracing our shared community. We look forward with great anticipation to working as partners hand in hand for the betterment of this absolutely wonderful city that we all love. Thank you, President Hitt and President Thrasher, for your kind words and for taking the time to attend today. I'm keenly aware of the demands of time on a president's schedule. I am now, for sure. And I thank you for being here and for your kind words. The Inauguration Committee has done a fabulous job under the leadership of Laura Stevenson DeMoss and Tracy Upchurch, and they deserve the credit for what has been an absolutely fabulous celebration of Flagler College this week, and I say thank you. And finally, very special thank you to the trustees, the faculty and the staff, the friends and the alumni of Flagler College, and of course the students. You took a chance on someone without a great deal of higher education experience, and I will never forget the opportunity you've given me and the kindness that you've shown me since I've been here. I have no intention of letting you down, and I count the stewardship of Flagler College my highest priority. While I may be an unworthy servant, I possess a great deal of passion and determination, and it is my firm intention to bring continued greatness to this wonderful college. You know, Flagler College, although only a young 50 years old, has experienced a number of significant milestones in its existence. Founded in 1968 as a four-year women's college, it became co-ed in 1971. But the history of Flagler can never be written without recognizing the incredible impact of Dr. William Proctor. Appointed president in May of 1971, and of course Dr. William Hebert, one of his first administrative hires, who was eventually named president by the Board of Trustees in 2001. They worked tirelessly along with our recognized founder and longtime chairman of the trustees, Mr. Lawrence Lewis, to literally resurrect this college from the ashes. They were not alone. They worked with the trustees, John D. Bailey Sr., George Octor, J.J. Daniel, Harry Gonzalez, Frank Harold, Dr. Bill McClure, Judge Hal Melton, L.C. Ringhaver, and Frank Upchurch, Jr. You'll recognize many of the names of these families as they continue to serve and support Flagler today. I'd also like to thank some of the first faculty and alumni that are present here today. Dean Bob Carberry, Mr. George Pathy, who's still working, faculty Phyllis Gibbs, Tom Rayner, Enzo Torciletti, Steve Willard and Robert Hall, and of course some of our first students, David and Janet English, Kathleen Meehan, Lila Sleeper, and of course Vicki Freeman and Bev Carmichael. They all took a chance on an unaccredited small college with few facilities and no amenities, but they stayed. And they became the foundation of Flagler College and of this institution. The first commencement class in 1972 had 35 students. In December of 1973, Flagler College received its first accreditation, and the rest is literally a legacy of growth and accomplishment continuing to this day. Including in that foundation, without the generosity of the Flagler Foundation and the William R. Keenan Jr. Charitable Trust through Frank Keenan and others, the college simply would not have survived. I mention these founders because it's important to remember their commitment during a very, very fragile beginning that would have made lesser men and women give up. They did not. And I mention them because none of us would be here today without their dedication and support. What drew me to Flagler College, quite frankly, were the students. We have an absolutely beautiful building that's a treasure, and we will always be a steward of that. But what's most special about this place is the students. I began to see, after being a trustee for a short period of time, I began to see the incredible passion and potential of these young men and women. They have so much hope in their eyes. They want to change the world for the better. and they're desperately looking for someone to show them the way. The students are why we do what we do at Flagler, and our core values bear that out. Flagler is a teaching institution, and that emphasis on teaching is stated in our values and was another attractor to me to Flagler College. I've always been drawn to the Gallup organization educational mission statement that says, our greatest contribution is to ensure that there's a teacher in every room, every classroom, who cares that every student, every day, learns and grows and feels like a real human being. I came from a long line of teachers. My grandmother taught first grade for 40 years, mostly in the same classroom. My mother was a teacher. My father was a teacher. As I mentioned, my wife is and was a teacher, as were her two sisters. We're both teachers. All three of my brothers were teachers or taught. My sister was a teacher. Both my daughters are teaching or have taught. I could go on and on with cousins and nephews, but I think you get the picture. You know, if someone in my position, the worst thing that could ever happen to an administrator is that you forget what it's like to be a teacher. That is not much. There's not much of a chance of that happening in my family, I can assure you that. We're blessed with an incredible faculty, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. They make teaching and they make our students a priority, and they indeed lead that Gallup mission statement every day. Flagler College will remain a teaching institution, a place where the dynamic of the classroom, the relationship between the students and the professor, will always be integral and preeminent in what we are as a college. Ultimately, it is a Flagler family that distinguishes us and makes everything possible for the students that we serve. Through the network of alumni and dedicated faculty, staff, and committed students, we're able to offer connections, community, and understanding. You know, this week's theme, citizenship in a diverse democracy, could not be more appropriate for our time and place. Achieving our mission as a college will require not just content knowledge, but empathy, intercultural competence, communication, problem-solving skills. Citizenship, in and of itself, is a recognition that we are interdependent, that there are values, systems, and skills that hold us together. Quoting Dr. Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail, all men are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. Indeed, St. Augustine, our beautiful city, our nation's oldest city, was founded and indeed thrived as a multicultural community, the original shining example of a melting pot, and a model for what we should aspire as America, as a nation. Quoting the Association of American Colleges and Universities, our classrooms should be models of democracy in action. The skills students need to form better understanding are very similar to those they need to become engaged citizens in a pluralistic democracy: written and oral communication, teamwork, inquiry and analysis, intercultural competence, and critical thinking. We should thus seek opportunities to model these skills through discussion and debate, presenting evidence on differing sides of historical and contemporary issues, and encouraging students to draw their own conclusions while engaging deeply with multiple viewpoints. We have done this all week in various activities. Our Reach Out, Raise Up Day of Service, we had over 900 community service hours where our students and faculty and staff went out into the community to serve our local community. Discussions on citizenship in a diverse democracy through our alumni panels. The United States nationalization ceremony, one of the most touching experiences that I have ever had in my life, that we held Wednesday, where we had 31 brand new citizens to the United States of America from all over the world. How we demonstrate educational ethical leadership, citizenship with integrity, and a respectful and inclusive community. They're all essential questions for our time and key value propositions for any college or university. So what about our future? One of the questions I'm most asked is, what is my vision for Flagler College? It's a question that honestly makes me extremely uncomfortable. One would have to be quite arrogant to think that, to assume that they alone have the vision for Flagler College. That being said, I do feel the responsibility for leading the college to its next level of greatness by facilitating that discussion. I've always thought that leadership in and of itself is this concurrent satisfaction and dissatisfaction with the status quo. And I'm a fierce advocate of continuous improvement. I also admittedly possess what hopefully is a absolutely healthy obsession with being the best. So we seek together to answer this question: what does greatness look like at Flagler College? What distinguishes us now, and what will distinguish us in the future? How do we preserve the greatness of the past and the core values that define Flagler College, yet plan and prepare for a future that reflects our mission as a college to foster intellectual, social, and personal transformation in all of our students? We're in the process of involving the entire college community in that discussion. These are fragile times for small private institutions. Consequently, we need a strategic plan to answer that question of greatness and a common vision. While we are planning, however, we must never forget the critical importance of culture and personal relationships in how we treat each other. Peter Drucker said, "Culture eats strategy for breakfast." You may have heard that. Meaning it doesn't matter how good your plan is if you don't operate in an environment of trust and mutual respect. This is a people business that we're in. We must realize that our strength is in our people and in our relationships. How we treat each other is vitally important. By choice and by design, I've spent a significant amount of time meeting with students and visiting classes. And I will tell you, I could not be more optimistic about our future as a college, as a community, and indeed a nation. Our students are absolutely fabulous, and I could not be more confident about where we're headed as a nation. What an incredible opportunity we have to impact the world in a positive way, and that's what education does. Hannah Arendt, who was a political theorist, writes, "Education is the point at which we decide whether we love the world enough to assume responsibility for it, and by the same token, save it from that ruin which, except for renewal, except for the coming of the new and the young, would be inevitable. And education, too, is where we decide whether we love our children enough not to expel them from our world and leave them to their own devices, nor to strike from their hands their chance of undertaking something new, unforeseen by us, but to prepare them in advance for the task of renewing a common world." Hannah Arendt was a Jew who escaped Nazi Germany in the Holocaust, and she wrote that in 1954. What an incredible mission we have as educators. There's nothing like it. So why college? Andrew Delbanco postulated three reasons. Some might say, from a pure and materialistic sense, to get a good job, meaning making good money. And certainly we need to prepare students for the world of work, and we will. But just as your job is not the entirety of your existence, preparing for work cannot be the whole of our college experience. Others believe, accurately, as Jefferson stated, that an enlightened citizenry is indispensable for the proper functioning of a republic. To be an ethical citizen in our democracy, we need to be fully informed. Maybe the most important reason, perhaps, is his third one. College opens your eyes and your senses, as well as your mind, to experiences that would otherwise not be available to you. as our speaker Georgia Nugent shared in her essay, this is the essence of a liberal education, not liberal in a political or partisan sense, but rather artis liberalis, from the Latin for liberal arts, which is translated best as skills for living fully and freely. And to live fully and freely, we need to be educated in all things. Flagler College espouses a beautiful blend of the liberal arts and pre-professional majors, and we hope to expand on this path as we further develop our strategic plan. Finally, my personal leadership philosophy centers around the work of Dr. Robert Greenleaf and servant leadership. Servant leadership describes the philosophy that emphasizes the importance of serving others first and leading others to become servants themselves. Greenleaf espouses the characteristics I believe are critical for any leader in any successful organization. And all of us are leaders in some form or fashion. Those skills include, and they're very different from your typical leadership skills. Number one, listening. Imagine if we as leaders listened more to others. Empathy, a second characteristic. Experiencing the feelings of others. Healing. Seeking out those who are hurting and doing something about it. Awareness, particularly self-awareness. And what is our impact on others? And how we act and what we do and say. Persuasion rather than coercion. Conceptualization, having a vision. Foresight, the ability to look ahead in the future and see the impact of what we're doing. Stewardship, and we certainly are stewards of this wonderful institution. And finally, commitment to the growth of people and commitment to the building of our fine community. In order to work toward the attainment of these characteristics of a servant leader, I've developed 5 essential skills I think all leaders must have, and I think can and will and should define Flagler College. Honesty and integrity. A deep sense of humility. A deep sense of loyalty, not to a person, but to an idea of democracy, an idea of America, an idea of Flagler College. Persistence in pursuing our goals in greatness, and finally, passion. In closing, for Susan and for me, education is passion, and it has been indeed a mission. It's been more than a job. Maintaining an emphasis on students, which is what we intend to do, requires courage in the face of competing agendas. In the end, what's most important is building an organization that has trust as its foundation, and where we are distinguished by our character and our integrity, and our priority is always the students that we serve. Thank you again, and thank you all for an incredible opportunity you have given me. God bless each and every one of you, and thank you.